I had planned on sharing with you guys week 6 of my first trimester, and it did not happen, and this is why. Welcome to my channel, I'm Crystal Levi. I'm a singer, songwriter, and rapper, and so much beyond. Life is full of adventures, just stick around and you see I'm so much more than just the music. There's so much more to me. I'm a daughter of the Most High, a big sister to this guy. 14 years and a lifetime to go. Being a his wife, journeying through this life. We gon' laugh, learn, and cry together. But first, hit that red button, subscribe, and let's grow together. Hey you guys, I just wanted to come on here and share with you guys something that happened to me in my first trimester, and that is why I did not share the news of our pregnancy earlier with you guys, and that's why I took a long break off of YouTube, off of Instagram, off of pretty much all my social media, because my first trimester was very rocky, and I wanted to share with you guys the day I found out that I was pregnant. But I had planned on sharing with you guys week 6 of my first trimester, and it did not happen, and this is why. Okay, so after I found that I was pregnant, as I shared with you guys in my last video, I had 2 beta tests. My first one was 411. My second one was 1073 or 1093. I went in for my first ultrasound. All started out well. We were able to identify the gestational sac, the yolk sac, and that was week 5. So I was kind of worried about the baby planted in the wrong place, because I do still have 1 tube. Again, I had a laparoscopy of April of 2020, in which endometriosis was found in my left tube, and they were able to flush and repair my right tube in the Fimbrier. And so I was nervous going into this transfer because I knew that the baby could implant in the wrong place. However, because I had high HCG numbers, that kind of was the way I kind of rationed it out, because I hadn't looked on HCGs of ectopic pregnancies, and I kind of knew that you know, if I had a lower number, I would have been more worried. But since my numbers was so high, I kind of you know, told myself that it couldn't be in a wrong place, but there's always that fear. And so I went into my first ultrasound very prayerfully, and I did this. At this point, I had already backed away from a lot of social media, because I hadn't prepared myself of the anxiety that comes with being pregnant. I thought the highest anxiety I would have was getting pregnant, but once being pregnant, it opened up a whole nother level of anxiety, right? And so I kind of backed away from social media a little bit just because of that. So I went in for my first ultrasound, and all was well. We got to see the gestational sac, the yolk sac, and that was my first appointment. I believe that was either 5 weeks, I believe. And then I went in the next week for week 6, and it was 6 weeks one day, and we got to see again the yolk sac, the gestational sac, and the little the baby starting to form around the yolk sac. So that was awesome to see, but we hadn't heard a heartbeat at that point. We was just too early. I think it was 6 weeks one day, and then came 6 weeks 5 days. I was sitting at my computer. I was working on some things. I think I was clearing out some space because I knew I was about to record a whole lot of videos. I had prepared to share with you guys and record a video on that Friday. So this was a Thursday, I believe. And on that Friday, I was preparing to share with you guys the news of this pregnancy. And so when I was sitting at my computer on that Thursday, clearing out some space, going through videos, seeing what I wanted to keep and not keep, and putting some stuff on my hard drive, I felt a big gush come out of me of fluid. And I had no idea what this was, right? I'm like, oh gosh. And I'm panicked at this point. I'm trying to, I'm thinking like, I don't know when the mucus plugs form, but I'm like, did my mucus plug fall out? Like, I'm just panicked at this point, but I'm trying to stay calm. And then when I went into the restroom to, examine what was going on, I started bleeding a lot. And the bleeding was not followed by any cramping of any kind. And what happened next is what sent me into severe anxiety. And please excuse me, this is going to be very graphic. I sat on the toilet and this huge blood clot fell out of me. And all I could do was scream and cry. I thought that I had lost my baby. I thought I was miscarrying, and I thought that the thing that fell out of me was the baby. I thought that was because it was a complete sac thing, and it looked like, early miscarriage. And so I called my husband, and I am crying profusely. I am trying to stay calm so I can explain to him what was going on. My husband drives trucks, so he's all the way across town somewhere. We only have one vehicle at the moment. And when I kept looking in the toilet. He said, can I pull it out of the toilet to see what it is? I'm like, I ain't pulling nothing out of the toilet. So I'm crying. I'm trying to, try to be rational, and rationality has just left the building. You feel where I'm coming from? And so my husband's trying to stay calm. He calls the nurse at the fertility clinic. They pick up and they let me know that I can come in for an emergency ultrasound. They're available until 3 because they close at 3. The time was 1:30. Again, my husband is all the way across town. We only have one car in which he uses to go back and forth to work. And I just like, there's no way we can get to this appointment. So my husband called his brother. His brother doesn't live too far from us, and he was able to pick me up and take me to that appointment. And I love my husband because he's gonna make something happen. Like, I love my baby cake so much, man. I love that man. I truly do. I love that man. But anyway, I'm trying not to get too emotional because, like, that day was just the hardest day of my life. Like, I Googled anything. Like, the thing that encouraged me is that the nurse that I called, she was like, it's no cramping, it's probably okay. And I was not feeling any kind of cramping. And so I'm just glad my husband was able to stay calm because I was a hot mess. I mean, a hot mess. But anyway, his brother picked me up and took me to the appointment. My husband got there maybe about 5 minutes after I did. Somehow he unloaded the truck, told them he can't make the delivery, flew all the way 30 minutes or 40 minutes, where my fertility clinic is about 40 minutes from our house. So actually the fertility clinic was closer to him where he was. So I think it was about a 30-minute drive for him, but he got there about 5 minutes after I did, and they saw us right away. I didn't even sit down, and the nurse that was with me, she was trying to get me to stay calm, and I was literally shaking like this. I was a nervous wreck. When I tell y'all a nervous wreck, I was a nervous wreck. I could not stop shaking. I could not stop crying. I was just thinking, I was just like, worst case scenario. You feel where I'm coming from? Because after I seen what I seen in that toilet, I'm like, there's no way that wasn't, that the baby could survive this. And if that wasn't the baby, I'm preparing for, a miscarriage. I can't even explain what my mindset was right then. And so when he hooked me up with Wanda, we were able to see the baby. And we were able to hear the heartbeat, and all was fine. It could have been a subchorionic bleed that hemorrhaged. Not sure. And the only thing that I can think of, and this is what I want to share with you guys. The only thing that I can think of happened excuse me, was that I was eating a lot of pineapples and grapes. Like anybody that so okay, the first trimester, my symptoms were food aversions. Like I had no appetite, none whatsoever. The only thing that I really kind of wanted all the time was pineapples and grapes, and I liked it because I had this weird taste in my mouth. It was like a citrus metallic taste. And so the only thing that would kind of soothe that was eating pineapples or grapes or drinking orange juice. So I was eating a lot of pineapples, bananas, orange juice, like a lot of pineapples. Like I ordered like 5 cans of pineapples off of Amazon, and I was eating 2 cans of pineapples a day. Like this is like not a good thing to do anyway. You know, 2 slices of pineapple is a serving. So I'm eating like a whole can and for breakfast and lunch and then dinner because I just couldn't stomach anything else. And I was, you know, combining that with shakes, protein shakes, to make sure I get my protein. And I just couldn't eat. Like I would, like I love watermelon. Like I'm a fruit, veggie type of person. And I love me some watermelon. And I cut open the watermelon and I sat down. I just couldn't get my mind to eat it. And like stuff that I normally ate, I just couldn't get it in my mind to get any kind of cravings for it, right? So then pineapples and grapes were my thing. And so after leaving that appointment, I continued to bleed, and then it subsided towards the end of middle of week 7. And then on that Friday or Saturday again in week 7, after I put in my order for Amazon delivery to get my pineapples again, I was eating pineapples heavy. And then I was like, what other fruits? You know what I mean? I'm trying to expand my palate at this point because I was reading articles like with food aversions. They were like, you may just have a different taste palate. So I'm like, well, what other things can I eat besides pineapples and grapes that are, you know, things that I can actually fathom eating? So I saw applesauce, but then it linked me to fruits not to eat during pregnancy. And guess what were the top 3? Grapes and pineapples. Actually, pineapples was number 1 and grapes are number 3. And so after seeing that, I was like, oh gosh, no, because I love me some pineapple. Like even now, making this video, I'm craving pineapples. Orange juice is kind of like the thing that I go to that helps that craving. But I love me some pineapples. Like I told my husband once my baby is born to get me a can of pineapples when I go into labor. I love pineapples. I really want some pineapples. I told her get me a can of pineapples or get me a bush and cut me up some pineapples the day I go in labor. So once I have my baby, that's my after labor snack. Cause I love me some pineapple. But anyway, so when I read that, I stopped eating pineapples abruptly. I stopped eating grapes and abruptly, and literally 2 days later, I stopped bleeding. So on the end of week 7. It was like a Friday or Saturday. I was bleeding a lot. And I didn't have any clots or anything. So I called the nurse. I was a lot more calm because I didn't have any cramping. So I'm like, this is just, you know, bleeding. He said it could happen when the placenta is, you know, developing and things of that nature. So I'm thinking like this is, you know, another bleed. And so the nurse informed me to put on a pad. And if the pad fills with blood, to let her know. And it was kind of like getting to that place, and I was getting nervous. And so I just laid down, put my feet up, and I had me a can of pineapples. And this is where, you know, while I was sitting in the bed reading about other fruits to eat, this is how I found out that maybe, you know, this is coming from this situation, or maybe it's softening my cervix to the point, because this is what pineapples do, it softens your cervix. And you know, things to get, but I don't know what happened with the pineapples and grapes, but I just know I stopped eating pineapples and grapes that day, and I did not bleed anymore since then. I have not bled anymore since that day. And that's what happened in my first trimester, and that is why I did not come on here and share this positive news, this lovely news that we are pregnant with you guys sooner. I wanted to get out of my first trimester before I shared anything. I actually just shared it with my family on social media at week 12. So this is like, I was like 12 weeks 3 or 4 days. So I just shared it on my social media platforms as well, because I just wanted to make sure I was in the clear per se. You're never really in the clear per se until the baby is born, but I feel more comfortable with sharing that news now. And plus I'm starting the show, so like, I just want my baby to be celebrated no matter what the outcome of all of this is. I know God has me. Being prayerful about every step and everything that I do. Revise my diet. And I know that God has me, and I just try to trust and lean on that. And the key word is try. I'm not perfect. Nobody is perfect. You could say this, that, and the other, but we are still human, and we still deal with human emotions. And I think God is bigger than our emotions, but we still deal with those. And I'm just the type of person, I just like to be honest with what I'm actually feeling. And then let God work on me from being honest in that place. Because I have had, Christians that talk to me and want me to fabricate an emotion that is not genuine. Yes, I do have faith. Yes, I do have trust. And I think God understands our concerns and our things. He didn't say that we're not going to worry. He said when we worry, what is it producing? It's like it's not adding any cubits to his stature. He didn't say don't be angry. He said don't let the sun go down on your wrath. So he understands our human emotions. And so I'm just going to be, real about that, and let him work on me from there. Because the more we lean into him, the more we kind of, trust what he has to say versus what our right now is saying. And that's a process for some people. It's not always an instantaneous thing. When you're dealing with bleeding and stuff like that, your first go-to is not, this, that, and the other about God. I'm dealing with my very human emotions. And as I'm dealing with that, I'm praying, I'm giving it to him, but I'm still dealing with it. You know what I mean? So anyway, I don't want to get too far into that. And that is my story as to why I did not share with you guys earlier. And please, if you guys believe in the power of prayer, please continue to pray for us through this process. Again, I started another Instagram page, which is the Journey to Baby J. If you guys have any questions, or you're going through a similar journey, please feel free to join me on that Instagram page. Yep, that is it for this video. Until next time.